Hi there, this is Tata, and welcome to the Wrestling Time Post Show. For tonight, I will be reviewing AEW Dynamite. Alright, there was so much that went down tonight, and so much to discuss. We had an incredible promo battle, I guess you can say, between MJF and Ricky Starks, and it did not disappoint. I think it was something we were all looking forward to, since Ricky Starks won the AEW title eliminator tournament. And also, too, it was interesting the way AEW handled William Regal's departure because, yes, William Regal is leaving AEW as revealed today in tonight's media call. I have more on that. But first, let's talk about this war of words. Okay, so after Ricky Starks immediately won the Dynamite Diamond Ring Battle Royal, his music didn't even play. They didn't even say his name. MJF just came out and he started cutting a promo. And MJF, he smirked and he says that he will be with Starks in 1 second. MJF begins to say that a little birdie told him that Brian didn't want to show up tonight. And MJF claims that it's because Brian is afraid. He says he's a bad man. And in 1 week from now, he'll be a four-time, and he keeps saying four-time Dynamite Diamond Ring holder and will still be the holder of the Triple B. He says that he is underutilized god of pro wrestling and Starks is very talented. But the truth is, in comparison to MJF, Starks is drizzling shit. Rudy Poo candy ass. Talking about how Ricky Starks has literally stolen everything from The Rock. And he goes on to call him a dollar store Dwayne and calls him a little pebble because we all know, Dwayne Johnson was The Rock. So if Dwayne Johnson's The Rock, he's basically saying Ricky Starks is a little pebble in compared to The Rock. I'm not going to lie, that was kind of funny, calling him a dollar store Dwayne. So he said he's going to put Ricky Starks in his pocket and then he's going to dump him somewhere and send him all the way back to Billy Corgan's NWA so that Ricky Starks can wrestle on YouTube where he belongs. He says that he doesn't care that Starks is absolute because he is a generational and his reign of terror has just begun. That was a really good promo by MJF. As I've always said, MJF is just really good at cutting promos, and this promo is no exception. He's done incredible promos, and I wasn't expecting anything less from MJF. Ricky Starks, at the same time, also cuts good promos. And like I said at the beginning, everybody was waiting for this promo battle, so to speak, between MJF and Ricky Starks. And like I said, it did not disappoint. So after MJF is done, Ricky Starks starts talking. He starts off by calling MJF a maxi pad, which I thought was so hilarious, and calls him a fifth-rate Roddy Piper wannabe to come out and steal the spotlight. He says he's trashed the city, trashed the people. The low-hanging fruit is running dry. Ricky Starks goes on to say that every single week MJF comes out here, he smells like bank dinner and ass. He can spray tan his eczema, got some crappy shoes on, shirt is never ironed, shitty scarf, terrible ass haircut. And MJF thinks he's better than him. Ricky Starks says everything about MJF screams cheap. Cheap suit, cheap shoots, cheap heat. And that being AEW champion comes with the big responsibility that MJF knows nothing about. And that the biggest difference between them is that when people get behind Starks, he gave them a reason to keep going. When people put their faith in MJF, he let them down. When Regal put his faith in MJF, he let him down. Ricky Starks says that he always delivers on time, every night, every week, every month. And that MJF can take his ass to Greece for 3 months because he didn't get paid enough, got out-politicked by someone smarter than him. But fact remains that Ricky Starks has been busting his ass. MJF avoids responsibility, avoids any type of pressure. And Ricky Starks goes on to say that he shows up to sign meet and greets, while MJF doesn't care. He blows it off because everyone hates Max. So what he has to lose? Nothing, right? And I have to say, I was at Double or Nothing this year, and I was actually at Double or Nothing Fan Fest, and I personally didn't meet MJF. I paid to meet Hangman Adam Page, but I know MJF was supposed to be there. And from my understanding, MJF did not show up they were waiting for him and he just didn't show up. I was actually attending the live panel that they were doing right there, and I saw the giant line for MJF and he wasn't there. I didn't know until afterwards that he didn't show up. But what Ricky Starks said is true. MJF did not show up. He didn't show up to Double or Nothing, and I was there when he cut that promo and he went MIA for a while. Ricky Starks then goes on to say there's a lot of responsibility when it comes to people actually liking you. Besides MJF's nose being a lot darker than the rest of his body. Ricky Starks goes on to say that on the other hand, he lives with dignity and respect, which MJF knows nothing about. When he lived in his car, he was grinding. He says that MJF thinks that he pays people and can kiss ass and can get whatever he wants. And that next week is a big deal because he's putting up and shutting up MJF. And he says that MJF doesn't deserve any of this. And in regards to YouTube, he's been there, he's done that. We're referencing to what MJF said about Ricky Starks going back to Billy Corgan's NWA Wrestling on YouTube. He's going to slap the mole right off MJF's neck, and he's taking that title. He says Ricky Starks is going to take responsibility off his plate, little boy. And then he speared MJF because MJF attacked him. But the funny part is he speared MJF and his MJF shoes came off. So if you ask me, very good promo by both of them. I honestly think Ricky Starks out-promoted MJF with that. But tell me, who do you think won this promo battle? MJF or Ricky Starks? Me personally, I think it was Ricky Starks just because MJF did attack Ricky Starks. And it shows to me that he did not like what Ricky Starks had to tell him. But overall, that was a really good promo. I hope we see another one. I highly doubt it because next week, I believe there is their match. So it sucks we only got this one promo. I would have loved to see more. But I think that with this build, I think this was okay. Just because I feel like how much more could they have said to each other? You get me? But this one promo, it may have only been one. But it certainly delivered. It was awesome and fantastic. All right, so that concludes that portion. So we have to talk about William Regal because it's important. So at the start of AEW Dynamite, they said that William Regal was in a hospital and Bryan was by his side. That is kayfabe. William Regal is not in a hospital. So later on in the night, we had Tony Schiavone in the ring with the Blackpool Combat Club. And he showed them an interview he did with William Regal. And William Regal starts off to say that this January, it would be 30 years of friendship between him and Tony Schiavone. And people can only see this interview if something bad happens to him. And Regal's always expecting something bad to happen to him. He says that he took great exception about what MJF did to Tony Schiavone. MJF seems to be getting mad about emails. And William Regal said that he gave him what he wanted. MJF is world champion. But he says that you need to be careful what you wish for because now everyone's going to be chasing him. And that he released several months ago that the three main members of Blackpool Combat Club, which he's referring to Bryan Danielson, Claudia Castelloni, and Jon Moxley, didn't need him around anymore. But he knew they wouldn't let him go. He needed to show them why they didn't need him anymore. And he says he needed to show them that they can teach Wheeler to be the best pro wrestler in the world because they have that capability. He says he taught BCC everything he knows. And to lead by example, he knows Moxley will because he is a calculated man. And Moxley will understand this. He says the reason why he did what he did was to lead by example. He says that the last thing he can teach them is to stay one step ahead and always keep eyes on the back of your head. And then he goes on to say, I am Blackpool Combat Club till I die. Fellas, it's been emotional. So that's basically AEW's way of writing off William Regal. It was confirmed. Cage Side Seats says that on the media call today, in support of Ring of Honor's final battle pay-per-view this Saturday, Tony Khan addressed William Regal's status with AEW. Tony Khan confirmed on the Ring of Honor call that Regal will be done with AEW at the end of the year. He framed the decision to let Regal out of his contract with a personal situation. So Tony Khan apparently said, I got a phone call saying William Regal had approached AEW Chief Legal Officer Meghan and said it was all very legitimate and valid stuff. Basically, he has a son who works in another wrestling promotion and he really wanted us at the end of the year, when we had the option to renew his contract, he was asking that we would not. Nothing bad. We were having a great time working together, but this is an opportunity for him to go back and work these golden years of his career with his son and do things that he likes to do, coaching, and he has friends that he would like to go back and coach with. It's a very complex situation for AEW because he's a huge part of what we're doing on screen, and we really value him. There are multiple storylines he's involved in. So Cage Side Seats goes on to say that later in the call, Tony Khan indicated that the terms of Regal's release include not appearing on television in 2023. He also said he was surprised to see Triple H tweet the video of Regal's signature War Games announcement before Survivor Series last month, and he didn't think it was in the spirit of how accommodating AEW was about Regal's situation. So there we have it. William Regal is officially done with AEW. So it seems like this storyline was to write him off. I still wonder where the storyline originally was supposed to go, but now we'll never know. Like I said at the beginning, AEW did say William Regal kayfabe was in the hospital. So I wonder if they're still going to mention him, or when Bryan comes back, he's going to want to avenge William Regal. It's obvious that after MJF is done with Ricky Starks, his next opponent is going to be Bryan Danielson. And, well, what did you guys think of William Regal's run in AEW? I'm surprised that it's coming to an end so shortly. But I'm not surprised that he wants to go back. I mean, his son is there, so it makes sense. It made sense to me why he wants to go back. But so, William Regal cannot appear in WWE television for all of 2023 until 2024, but he can be a coach and be a backstage personnel. So I guess he won't be able to shout War Games next year. With that being said, let's start this review from the beginning. All right, so tonight's Dynamite kicked off with the Dynamite Diamond Ring Battle Royal, and there was a lot of storylines going on in this Battle Royal, which I think that was the whole point of this. First of all, you had Kip Sabin and Orange Cassidy fighting on the outside. You had Kip Sabin and the Butcher working together to eliminate Orange Cassidy. Sabin even biting the hand of Orange Cassidy. Cassidy eliminated the Butcher. Dustin Rhodes eliminated Kip Sabin. It's so funny because, the boys catch Dalton Castle after he was almost eliminated by Brian Cage. So they lift him up. And they throw him back, and then Brian Cage shows him back. This happens 3 times. And it's just hilarious. They carry him to safety. And then, in the end, Brian Cage still eliminates Dalton Castle when he dumps him on the boys. And Jungle Boy eliminates Brian Cage. Ricky Starks eliminates the Butcher, who had earlier eliminated Dustin Rhodes with the lariat. So Jungle Boy also eliminated Lee Moriarty, but then W. Morrissey, who was at ringside with the boot, eliminated Jungle Boy. And he chokeslammed poor Jungle Boy onto the ring apron. And Ethan Page is demanding Matt Hardy to raise his hands. This is where the storyline comes into play, because you guys know the firm owns Matt Hardy and Private Party's contracts. So Matt Hardy, in this half of the Battle Royal, is forced to help Ethan Page. But there are some cool spots, like Captain Sean Dean doing that DDT to Ethan Page is pretty cool. Matt Hardy and Ethan Page double team Ricky Starks. Ricky Starks eliminates Matt Hardy, and Ricky Starks, using the ropes, does a DDT to Page, and then Ethan Page attempts to eliminate Starks, but he eliminates himself, so Ricky Starks wins this. So now, not only is he going to challenge for the AEW title, he's also going to challenge for the Dynamite Diamond Ring, and as we find out later on in the night, it's a winner-take-all match. So I guess, yeah, that pretty much means MJF is going to win this. It sucks that Ethan Page has not been able to win. He did not win the tournament. He didn't win this. I don't know where they're going with Ethan Page, but maybe 2023 will be his year, and he'll finally win some type of gold. But immediately after Ricky Starks wins, MJF comes out and he cuts a promo. I already talked about the promo at the beginning. It was a really good promo. He basically, to kind of cut this promo short, MJF is pretty much saying that Ricky Starks is a Dollar Street Dwayne. He calls him a little pebble in reference to The Rock. You know, The Rock is The Rock. So if Dwayne is a rock, Ricky Starks is a pebble. And he says that he should go back to Billy Corgan's NWA so he can wrestle on YouTube where he belongs. And he doesn't care that Starks is absolute because he is a generational talent and his reign of terror has just begun. And then Ricky Starks, if you ask me, out promos MJF with his promo. I also talked about this at the beginning. But he pretty much brings up a point how MJF tries to avoid responsibility and avoid any type of pressure, and which are things that come with being AEW champion. And he ends up spearing MJF after the promo, and he spears him out of his shoes, which I thought was hilarious. So then after this, we get a Jon Moxley promo, and he's talking about how last week got out of a little hand and referencing to fighting Hangman Adam Page. He says that he's starting to like the cowboy Hangman Page because he fell off his horse, dusted himself off, and got back on the saddle and did his talking with his fist. And he goes on to say there's not enough of that around here. There's too much talking. This is all elite wrestling, not all elite talking. There is no Blackpool microphone club. This is combat. This is a sport of kings. Moxley then goes on to say that tonight himself, Wheeler, Yuta, and Claudio this weekend in Final Battle this Friday night on Rampage, they're going to bring back 100% proof, in-your-face, ass-kicking wrestling. He goes on to say he's over the Jericho Appreciation Society, and he will be out there to ensure that there is no sports entertainment shenanigans, and that this weekend they're going to put JSA in the rearview mirror, and that if Hangman wants another piece of him, he knows exactly where to find him. And in my opinion, it's a really good promo by Jon Moxley. And that last line tells me it's not over between him and Hangman Adam Page. So maybe it might lead to something at Revolution. All right, so then we get the TNT Championship match. It is Darby Allin versus Samoa Joe. And this was actually a really good match. I was not expecting Darby Allin to win this, but I was expecting it to be a good match. And it was. So this match just showed how dominant Samoa Joe is. I mean, he swung Darby Allin into the barricade and then into the ring apron. He peeled the padding off the floor, power slammed Darby Allin onto the floor without the padding. He sent Darby Allin ricocheting off the ring post, and he gave him a high boot, which was followed by a senton. Don't get me wrong, Darby Allin doing some impressive stuff by doing a code red to Samoa Joe, which I actually thought was pretty cool. Then he sent Samoa Joe knees first into the steel steps, followed by a coffin drop to the outside. He even bit Samoa Joe's face and then followed it up with the coffin drop, but Samoa Joe caught him with the rear naked chokehold, and Darby Allin passed out here, so Samoa Joe ended up winning. Then after the match, Darby Allin shoves Samoa Joe, and then Samoa Joe headbutts him. Joe does a muscle buster to Darby Allin onto his skateboard, and then he puts him in another sleeper, and then Wardlow comes out and Joe leaves. So very clearly, I wonder if they're going to also do a winner takes all match between Wardlow and Samoa Joe, or if this is just going to be about the TNT title. And you never know. I mean, Samoa Joe is double champion for a reason. So, Orange Cassidy and Kip Sabin have a segment backstage. And Orange Cassidy basically tells Kip Sabin if he wants a title shot, all he had to do was ask. And then he suggests a match for the All-Atlantic title on Rampage, but Kip doesn't want to fight Orange Cassidy. And Orange Cassidy says that if Kip won't fight him for the All-Atlantic title, to find someone who will. I have an update. So it's interesting that Orange Cassidy said that because Fightful Select posted a Miro update. After inquiring with all elite wrestling sources, it was related to us that Miro is and has been completely healthy in wanting to actively compete. However, we're told that creative simply hasn't been presented to him. Miro last appeared at AEW All Out and before that Forbidden Door. While it looked like he was back to being figured in creatively during the summer, that hasn't been the case, and he's only wrestled 4 matches in all of 2022, all between June 1st and September 4th. We're told that there were plans to have creative conversations, but that those haven't happened as of yet. Those that we've spoken to say that Miro is eager to return to the ring. So, to me, that kind of it was interesting that update came out today, and then we got this segment. You guys know Miro and Kip Sabin, they had this whole gimmick, and Miro was the best man. So I would not be surprised if the opponent Kip Sabin fans for Orange Cassidy is none other than Miro. I would be surprised if it's anybody else besides Miro. But who do you guys think is going to be Orange Cassidy's opponent? I mean, do you have any suggestions besides Miro? I don't. So we have a tag team match. Claudia Castelloni and Wheeler Yuta versus Jake Hager and Daniel Garcia. So one thing that I like in this match was that Jake Hager tags in and he gives Claudia Castelloni a matching purple hat. But Claudio throws the hat into the crowd. And there's back and forth chest chops between Wheeler Yuta and Garcia. The senton to Daniel Garcia by Wheeler Yuta. Yuta and Claudio double team Daniel Garcia and they drop him. I really like the elbows to Garcia and Hager by Wheeler Yuta. If the crowd was chanting Sammy sucks, yet Sammy Guevara wasn't even in this match. He was just at ringside and they were chanting Sammy sucks. I really like the uppercuts that Claudio did to Hager, which he followed up with the Hurricanrana. Now, Claudio tried to do a giant swing, but Daniel Garcia saved him the first time. The second time, Claudio successfully swings Jake Hager. And another spot that I liked in this match was when Wheeler Yuta put Daniel Garcia in the Dragon Tamer, and then you have Claudio with an ankle lock to Jake Hager. Claudio reverses the ankle lock and then uppercuts Hager, sending him into Garcia. So Wheeler Yuta and Claudia Castelloni end up victorious. And I honestly think that I've talked about this before, and I think Claudio Castelloni is losing his match with to Jericho. I think he's going to join Jericho Appreciation Society. I would be surprised if Claudio Castelloni actually does win. He takes the ROH title off of Chris Jericho. I don't think that's happening, though. So after this, we get a William Regal interview, which I talked about also at the beginning. There is an update. The whole point of this is William Regal pretty much says that he did what he did because he knew Blackpool Combat Club wouldn't let him go, and he was trying to teach Blackpool Combat Club one last lesson, and that is stay one step ahead, always keep eyes on the back of your head. He is Blackpool Combat Club till he dies, and it's been emotional, fellas. So that was their way of writing William Regal off, and that was his farewell. I know at the beginning of the show, kayfabe, William Regal was in the hospital, but this was his way of saying goodbye. Tony Khan in the media call, which I talked about at the beginning, addressed that William Regal is done with AEW and he's going to pretty much go back to WWE. So after this, we get Jon Moxley pretty much cutting a ring, saying that he knows is that all three of the men in the ring, when she's talking about himself, with Yuta and Claudio Castelloni, live and breathe for the sport of pro wrestling. But on December 10th, the war with Jericho Appreciation Society is over. He will challenge any wrestler in the world on AEW Rampage, and he's going to make a statement at Final Battle. Wheeler Yuta and Claudio Castelloni are going to make a statement. And as we found out later on in the night, it's going to be Konosuke Takeshita versus Jon Moxley on AEW Rampage. That should be a good match. So then we get a Jamie Hayter sit-down interview. And she requested this because it baffles her that Toni Storm and Saraya got these sit-down interviews. She starts on to say that it's getting very interesting, and she's at the top of the totem pole, and that she's going to get a closer look on the Regina D-Wave Championship match on Rampage, which is Hikaru Shida versus the Bunny. And she's going to give one of those girls the opportunity of a lifetime. The winner gets to challenge her for the title, which I think would be Hikaru Shida, so it should be a good match. So then we get a trios match. It is Jade Cargill and the Baddies, Layla Gray and Red Velvet versus Kiera, Hogan, Madison, Rayne, and Skye Blue. I thought this was a decent match. I thought it was a fun little match. Of course, Jade Cargill and the Baddies pick up the win. Jade hitting Jaded on Madison Rayne. And so that brings up Jade's record to 43 0. So she needs almost 7 victories away from getting to 50. Then we get a Saraya backstage segment, and before she can even say anything, Britt Baker shows up and congratulates her on the biggest win of her career. And she says that Saraya's first match was a pay-per-view match against her. And Britt hands Saraya tickets to be front row at the Kia Forum. The whole point of this segment is that Britt Baker is challenging Saraya to a tag match. It's going to be Saraya and a partner of her choosing versus Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, and AEW Women's World Champion Jamie Hayter. So of course speculation is running rampant as to who is Saraya's partner going to be, and it's interesting that they're announcing this match nearly a month in advance. I think that says something. Could it be Toni Storm? A returning Thunder Rosa? Could it even be possibly Mercedes Verano, formerly known as Sasha Banks? Because it's so interesting that if it was, I feel like they want to put mystery on this. And I think that a lot of people are getting their hopes up and thinking it's Sasha Banks. Remember, they're not telling us it's Sasha Banks. People are just assuming it's Sasha Banks. And I think those people will be disappointed if it turns out not to be Sasha Banks. But I personally think it might be Thunder Rosa, but you never know. We don't know. I don't think it's Chris Statlander. I would be surprised if it is Chris Statlander, because I don't think Chris Statlander fits into this storyline. I think they're saving Chris Statlander for Jade Cargill. And I don't think it's Ruby Soho. She doesn't fit into the storyline either. I know she did have a rivalry with Britt Baker, but maybe, who knows? It could be Ruby Soho. I don't know. But speculation is running rampant, and people do think it is Sasha Banks. I guess we'll find out. But who do you think it is? Do you think it's Sasha Banks? If not, who is it? Who else could it be Saraya's partner? Then in the main event, it is an AEW Tag Team title match. It is FTR versus the Acclaimed, and wow, this was a really good match, a really good main event. Let me tell you something. Like, this match did not disappoint. I did not think it was going to. The one thing that I will say, Jeff Jarrett's group was watching the match backstage. There was like a stalemate between Cash Wheeler and Anthony Bowens. Then we had a hip toss to Dax Harwood by Max Caster, which was followed up by an arm drag. And then there's this one spot where all 4 men went at it. I really like that their move is called the Scissor Me Timbers that they did to poor Dax Harwood. Well, Anthony Bowens did that to him. I like that Max Caster put Dax and Bowens put Cash into a double sharpshooter. Poor Max Caster got catapulted into a steel railing under the ring. Then there was a magic killer by the Acclaim, but Dax flipped out and sent Caster into Bowens. FTR attempted to do a big rig, but Anthony Bowens broke it up. They do successfully hit a big rig on Max Caster, but Anthony Bowens saved the day on that one. Then all 4 men go down and the fans chant, "This is awesome." It was awesome. This match ends after we get a powerbomb to Max Caster, but Max Caster rolls through and he hooked the legs, and so the Acclaim successfully retain their tag titles here. Now, Billy Gunn helps FTR to their feet, and there's that show of respect. The Guns appear on the Titantron, and they have a letter from the Briscoes. They're challenging FTR to a double dog collar match at Final Battle. So it's going to be the Briscoes versus FTR 3 for those ROH tag titles, and I cannot wait. Should be a really, really good match. But wow, tonight's show, I have to say, a lot of segments and a lot of promo cutting. It was so funny that Jon Moxley brought up more talking than fighting, but I felt like there was a lot more talking tonight, probably than there has been in an AEW show than there were matches. I mean, there were only 5 matches and a lot of promos. I honestly didn't mind that. I actually really enjoyed tonight's show. Was there a lot of talking? Yes, there was a lot of talking, but it wasn't useless talking. It was talking with a purpose. They had to address William Regal's status. They had to set up Starks versus MJF, and they needed to set up a lot of things tonight. So I understand why we had a lot of promos. You know, this is technically the go-home show to Final Battle, and then we have Rampage. But I honestly really enjoyed tonight's show. There's not really one thing I disliked about tonight's show. To me, tonight's show is a Shawn Spears perfect 10 out of 10. There's not one thing I disliked about tonight's show. I think it was a perfect show. Yes, you may have had only 5 matches. Yes, you might have had a lot of promos and a lot of segments, a lot of talking, but those were done with a purpose. I can understand if somebody doesn't like this Dynamite episode because, yes, there was a lot of talking and not enough action. You know, usually AEW likes to do a lot of matches, likes to do very few promos in between, but I feel like this episode was perfect just the way it was. I personally didn't mind it, but I would understand if some people did mind it. But with that being said, you guys, thank you guys all so much for watching and for the continuous support. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell so you get notified whenever I go live or release a new video. And I hope to see you guys live Friday after SmackDown. Bye.